Joining us now to discuss all of that and more is former BYU forward and current BYU radio analyst for the Cougars, Mark Durrant, on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. Mark, it is always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for coming back on the show.
The pleasure is all mine, my friends. Good to talk to you.
BYU 17-8, 8-4 in conference at this point. Where would you place BYU's NCAA tournament hopes right now?
I'd say their hopes are somewhere in between the Patriots coming back from down 28-3 and Spencer Linton becoming the next Ryan Gosling.
So likely.
There's a chance!
La La Land!
You're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, I think you guys have talked about it, but if you just look at it right now, clearly there's no chance at all that they would even sniff the tournament. But I think the committee takes into account pretty heavily what a team does their last 10 games or so. So if BYU were to go on a winning streak, beat St. Mary's, beat Gonzaga up there, beat St. Mary's again, because I think clearly the conference is good and we'll get at least 2 bids. So if you make the case that you've won, 8, 9, 10 in a row at the end, and you've beaten the other team, St. Mary's, 2 of 3. I think that's a pretty good case for yourself. But that's pretty pie in the sky thinking to think BYU can do that after they almost lost to Portland the other night. So,
absolutely.
Sure, there's a chance, and I never give up hope, especially on my guys. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement for this team. But I think at this point you just want to get better, play good basketball, so you have a legitimate chance at maybe making a run at the right time in a conference tournament, which happens all the time, by the way. Really good teams get hot at the end, and they're able to run through their conference championship, even when you've got a team like Gonzaga and St. Mary's in there.
Isn't it interesting, too, that maybe that confidence in that potential run isn't high just because BYU hasn't won its conference tournament in Vegas the last 16 years? What BYU needs to snap that streak so that confidence is a little higher among everybody, including the media and the fan base.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those expect it when you least expect it things. The year that you think that they probably shouldn't, maybe they'll get it done. And I've seen it before. And you see it every year in these conference tournaments. But as the way BYU's playing right now, no one thinks that's likely to happen. But I'm telling you, things can change very quickly. And if you get hot, and if Nick Emery kind of comes out of his slump, and T.J. Haas continues to improve and play the great basketball he's playing, and Elijah Bryant continues to get better and better, and you start to figure it out defensively and give a little bit better effort. Listen, BYU's not that far off in being a very good team, and those things can happen in a month, and that's what you're doing. You're just trying to get better every game, learn from your mistakes to be in the best possible position to win that championship. Maybe you can't do it, but listen, none of those guys are going to give up and not give it a try, and I think they've got the players and they're the character type of players that want to get it done and will do everything they can to do it.
BYU's Dave Rose just picked up win number 300 in his very successful career as the head coach in Provo. And now they go on this tricky road trip at Pepperdine. Firestone Fieldhouse has not been friendly to BYU in West Coast Conference play. And then at San Francisco, a team that's projected to finish in the RPI top 90. What do you expect this week on this interesting road swing where BYU's just trying to get the next win, Mark?
I expect some nice weather, and I'm going to take my son. We're going to go to Universal Studios, little Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And so that's my high expectation. And listen, you know me, I'm a blue-colored glasses guy all the way, and I've never picked BYU to lose a game in my life and never will. But I don't have a lot of confidence in them winning any game, really, and neither should they. I mean, they should be playing with a great fear and an urgency in every game they play, whether it's Pepperdine or Gonzaga. They certainly haven't earned the right to take anybody for granted at this point. But I do think Pepperdine is down this year, even though they've had BYU's number the last couple of years there. I see that as a win for BYU. even though Lamont Murray is playing really good basketball. But I think that's a game that BYU will win, and I'm a little bit more worried about San Francisco. I think they've got things going a little bit better this year and a better coaching situation, and are feeling pretty good about themselves, a good three-point shooting team, and that could be trouble for BYU given their past troubles on the road this year. And so that'll be a big one. I think if BYU can get that one, that'll be a sign that they're playing good basketball and kind of going in the right direction. But that'll be a tough one, even though BYU struggled at Malibu and done a nice job recently at the Hilltop. It might be reversed this year, where BYU will have a little easier time at Pepperdine and may struggle at San Francisco.
Yeah, Kyle Smith has those guys chucking threes, and they're making a bunch of them for sure. Is this team playing good enough defense right now to challenge St. Mary's next Saturday in the Marriott Center? Because to me, all of this is just leading up to St. Mary's. If BYU can beat St. Mary's, now there's a little hope.
There's some belief
that maybe the next week they could compete in Spokane. I know they've won the last 2 years, and you'll probably shave your head if they win, Mark. But can BYU play good enough defense to beat St. Mary's next week? Are they on that track?
Well, here's the deal. I like to point to the Gonzaga game on what BYU can do and what they have been doing. The first half is kind of the defense they played this year, and the second half is the defense they're capable of playing. And it's a very stark contrast. Just look at that game. It's night and day. And the question is, can BYU, first of all, play like the second half of Gonzaga in the first half against St. Mary's and sustain that over the course of a game? I don't know. They haven't done it really yet. But that aggressive, fanatical, get-in-your-face, cause problem type defense is what you have to play to have a hope against St. Mary's. And listen, even if BYU plays their best defense against St. Mary's, it's going to be tough because St. Mary's, they just do it the right way. I like watching them play, and it hurts me to say that about a rival, but they play how basketball should be played. They're so precise. They run such a good offense. Listen, Gonzaga now, they get really good athletes, so they can beat you just with their athleticism. St. Mary's is a team that has to beat you with their scheme and with their discipline, and they do it. And it's fun to watch, and they space you out so well. They've got very good shooters. They're able to bring their four-man out to shoot, which causes trouble for BYU because Yoli has to get out and chase a guy around the three-point line, and it also opens up the penetration lanes. And they've got Jock Landale back there who's very good, and so they do it the right way. And so even in your best defense, you're going to struggle against those guys. But if you don't play your best defense, you have no chance. So I think BYU can. They have the capability. Can they do it? I don't know if they will do it, but they certainly can. And again, with those blue-colored glasses, I'm picking that as a win for BYU, and they're going to have it if a lot of these scenarios we're talking about have any possibility.
A man who was once upon a time as handsome as Ryan Gosling, Mark Durrant, with us on BYU Sports Nation, and now I am chasing that lofty prestige
La La
that you
Land
bring
Gold.
up, Mark.
La La Land 2, starring Spencer Linton.
Yeah, some people think I'm in La La Land, even talking about the best case or even a bubbly case for BYU basketball. I did present the most likely case, and I said BYU finishing 22-11, probably going to the NIT. Now, if, and I know this is a big if, but if there were a matchup with Utah in the NIT, would that make it okay, Mark?
I think that would be pretty awesome. I mean, that's tantamount to Goodell having to give the trophy to Brady. I mean, that would be fun to see. But with that said, I mean, careful what you wish for. I think Utah's actually a lot better than I thought they'd be this year. They've done a nice job given what they had coming in, and as much as it grieves me to say it, I think Coach Larry has done a nice job with that team. So if you give me a home game in the NIT against Utah, man, I would really like that a lot.
I would too. That would bring some intrigue, certainly. And when BYU's been in the NIT the last couple of years, they've at least made it interesting, gotten to New York, and that's been fun at some level, right? What surprised you, Mark? What has surprised you about this team this year?
Well, I thought that BYU would be a much better three-point shooting team and would shoot a lot more. I mean, it's like walking down on campus and seeing Jerem Jordan with his top button unbuttoned. I mean, it's
that'd be crazy,
shocking.
Right?
It would be shocking to see that, and I'm shocked that BYU is not a better three-point shooting team. I think TJ's coming around a little bit, but Nick has struggled, and they've had struggle finding that other guy to kind of step in. Elijah's been better since he's returned, but I thought that would be, that's been the strength of BYU, and I thought it would continue to be the strength, and just didn't pan out. So BYU was kind of forced to go to Eric Mika. That's not a bad thing to be forced into because Eric's just been phenomenal, but I think BYU would like to be more balanced, be more of a threat from three-point line. Listen, you can have Shaquille O'Neal, but college basketball nowadays, you have to be able to shoot the three if you really want to be competitive. It's just such a big part of the game, and it's, in reality, not a hard shot. And if you can get 3 points for a shot that's not really much more difficult than a 15-footer, you've got to be able to take advantage of that. And a lot of games, BYU has traded twos for threes. And Mika's had big games, but it's just not enough against teams that are hot from the three-point line. So that's been a surprise to me, and I hope it improves for BYU that they shoot more. I think TJ needs to be more aggressive in his shooting from the three because he's been very good. But they need to shoot more, and they need to shoot a higher percentage to really want to compete against some of these really good teams.
Mark Durrant with us on BYU Sports Nation, former BYU forward, current radio analyst. We'll end with this question, Mark. How much better will BYU be 1 year from now? Much better, much better. I mean, people don't like the youth excuse, but take the youth out of it and just ask yourself, for these athletes, will they be better a year from now? And I think absolutely. There's no question that the more you play, they'll play games this year, they'll practice all summer, they'll be better. They're already pretty good. I mean, we've kind of gnashing our teeth a little bit, but it's not like they're the bottom dwellers here. They're a decent team, and they'll get better and better, stronger, add a couple components. They'll be much better. And all those great expectations BYU fans have had, and maybe we're a little disappointed this year, those things can still happen in the next couple of years. I'm very optimistic, and I think this team is led by a great coach. They got a lot of tools and will continue to get better. Yeah, youngest team that Dave Rose has ever coached. Follow him at Durrant Mark. I believe your words on Twitter were, if you don't think this team will be better next year, you're cray-cray. Yeah, I'm down with the lingo of the kids nowadays. I'm hep to that. Oh, clearly. Hey, have a great time in California. We'll look forward to hopefully a couple of BYU wins this week. Thanks, Mark.
Drink some butterbeer.
Thanks, fellas. Always a pleasure.
You got it.
Not against the honor code, by the way.
Mark Durrant on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future.